Hey, welcome back to the channel. Today I'm gonna review GeekyFuse. One thing to mention, I was not provided this. I went ahead and bought it of my own volition, so everything I say is honest and a first impression because I've left it in the mailing packet that it was sent to me in. The only thing I've removed is identifying information on the back because as much as I love you all, I don't want you at my house. All right, so there's two types of materials. It's carried in poly and cotton. And then there's two types of descriptions. There's soft and firm. I got one of each in cotton. I prefer natural materials whenever I can, and that's just the way that I roll. So let's see, I'm gonna go ahead and I'm gonna open it up. I've got like sample fabric cut out, but I'm gonna go ahead and cut it open, not with fabric scissors. I've got craft scissors. See, craft scissors, keep them around. It's very tempting, but it's like death by 1,000 cuts. So we'll just go ahead. I'm gonna very carefully, so carefully cut this open. Oh my God. I know, I never knew that I would make a cutting stream, but here we are. Or video, not stream. Okay, I'm just like, don't show your personal information on the video or you'll have to edit it out. Okay, all right, whoa. All right, so here is, I got 5 yards. I was all in, mostly from a cost perspective. It's just, for me, I know I'll use it. So it's like no skin off my back. And if you buy at the 5-yard portion, you're just gonna get a little more bang for your buck. And for someone like me that's doing craft fairs, farmers markets, selling online, that's really important for me to keep my bottom line fairly low, which is a whole different topic. Okay, so, oh, you're welcome. There was a nice little thank you note. By the way, this is from Wizardry, Stitchery, and Crafts. And I always forget that because it was known as like Geeky hardware for the longest time. So I keep mixing up, hence the reason it's called GeekyFuse. All right, so this definitely is the softer one, and then here's the firmer one. Now, a note about the firmer version. I had been told that is a really good Decoville light substitute. So I have 2 pieces of fabric that I've cut for bags that I'm going to be making over the next few weeks. So each will require a different type, and I'll go into that. Here we have the soft 5 yards, and we have the firm 5 yards, and she puts them in these really good big bags. Thankfully, that's really nice. Sometimes people, when they ship things to me, whether it be fabric or hardware, it doesn't come in a bag. And I'm sorry, but you can't trust the mailing services these days. But I do recycle all of the bags, etc. They've got instructions right here. Looks about the same as I would, in normal. So if you're using a heat press, it's about 340 degrees Fahrenheit. Press it 10 to 20 seconds, etc., etc. So yeah, well, I probably shouldn't say etc., etc. Fabric right side down, interfacing on top, and then going 10 seconds longer as needed. I use a heat press. If you're using an iron, you're gonna have to do medium to high temperature, dry heat. Don't use steam. Steam is gonna mess up the fusing process in general, and I say that for every single interfacing that you would ever use that's fusible. Please don't use steam. It's just going to cause you more stress, and nobody needs that. And then yeah, so the directions are the same for each. So let's just give this let's cop it feel. Woohoo! All right. Let's see. Yeah. Oh, yeah. So, first thing, the glue on the back is smooth. You can't feel the dots. That's a big thing for me, and that really is what causes wrinkling. So, when you take a bag and you've fused all the interfacing to it, and then you go and you flip it right side out, and you're like, oh, great, wrinkles. Wrinkles are everywhere. A lot of that has to do with the stabilizers that you're using. Sometimes it's the fabric and the way that you've abused it, but if the stabilizer doesn't have the glue dots completely fused down to form like a puddle of goo that has lain itself flat upon thy fabric, then it'll wrinkle in the spots where it didn't adhere. So you've got to be really careful, apply even pressure all the way around. I really feel sorry for people who are still using irons, because I just could not imagine going back to when I only had an iron. But you know, we work with the tools that we've got. So just try to apply it evenly. But the fact that this has like a really smooth surface is really appealing. Also, yes, I feel like this is actually going to be a Decaville light contender. And it may potentially wrinkle less, considering it's a cotton-based fabric and not some leather-like paper mache thing. I actually don't even know what the heck Decaville light is. It's supposed to be leather-like, but that ain't leather. So we'll move this off to the side. I'll cut it in a minute. Move it somewhere. Good Lord. I never thought I would need another table until I started doing these videos. Open. Haha. But this is a lot softer. And this is supposed to be like an advanced version of Shape Flex. So the Pellin Shape Flex 101, I'm naming larger brands, not smaller brands to compare to, because to be quite honest, I don't want to lambast anyone on accident and then end up getting sued for emotional damage. This is a lot thicker. Just from touch, this is a lot thicker than what you would find in a big box store. This is not Shape Flex. It's perfect for bags that are using vinyl, and you want to add just a touch of stability to the vinyl, but you don't want to add too much, because then the bag will be impossible to flip out. Ask me how I know. So yeah, this will be great for my vinyls, and then this will be great for my canvas, or even just straight up quilting cottons. I don't tend to use quilting cottons as much anymore, because I feel like over time they can kind of weaken a lot more, especially, you know, for a bag that's handmade and you're selling them for probably, you know, higher than what somebody would get at Walmart, Target, etc. You know, I've had too many things happen where not the straps failing, but more like in the corners they get worn down and such, and sometimes people's expectations are way up here. Even for a handmade product, they still expect big box brand name Chanel and Louis Vuitton, you know, kind of quality, which is not going to happen coming from this room. I mean, maybe, but not. Anyway, all right, so now what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut. And while I do that, I'm going to explain what it is I'm choosing for each of the fabrics. So what I've done is I have a perfect pouch piece that's cut out. This is a polyester canvas. It shows the colors better, it's cheaper to get, and it will last a bit longer than the cotton. Again, the whole thing with like quilting cottons and the wearing down in the corners, you get that a little bit less with a polyester. So that's why I've been sourcing polyester fabric. These are mile amounts. And if you're wondering what the 19.3 is, because you're like, what the heck? That's a Disney challenge, because I run Disney. So this is Run Disney fabric, and I'm going to make myself a little Lululemon knockoff, otherwise known as the Perfect Pouch, which you can buy on my website. The other is I'm going to do some Star Wars insignia vinyl. Now this is a custom vinyl that has that more of like a fleecy background to it. Let me see if I get that up here. So it's more fleecy. So if you were to sew this outright without any kind of interfacing on it, you're probably going to hate yourself, because when you go to flip it right side out, rip. The stuff does rip. You do need to apply woven interfacing to it. If it's a marine vinyl and it has that really nice sturdy, you know, woven canvas material in the back of it, you're fine. You don't need to worry about interfacing that unless you really, really want to. I don't normally bother unless the bag is really big. So for this fabric, all I want to use is the cotton soft GeekyFuse. And for this fabric, since it's so loose and it needs a little more help to maintain structure, I'm gonna use the cotton firm GeekyFuse. I really love that they named them soft and firm instead of, you know, easy and not easy or hard. Anyway, okay, so now I'm gonna cut everything out and then we're gonna fuse it. I thought about skipping recording this part and I was like, nah, this is a good time to highlight my hack for things. I try very hard not to cut things more than once, or more than 2 or 3 times. So I will actually come in and just cut around what it is I need and leave it like that. You're gonna end up wasting these corners anyway. Let's be honest, we just turn around and throw that all away. So again, I'm gonna just set it so that the fusible glue side is on the wrong side of the fabric, like that. And I'll have it just kind of set off. I'm gonna set off to the side here for fusing, because I'll get that ready. And it really doesn't waste a whole lot. I mean, you're basically just cutting a square and it makes it easier to kind of line things up next time. The other thing that I like to do sometimes is to just set an entire swath of fabric down. So like draw out using templates. So I have, you know, acrylic, there we go, like acrylic templates like this. And I'll lay them out and I will draw with a Sharpie or a ballpoint pen on the back of the fabric and then cut all around that and then lay it down and just fuse and cut once. So that's easy too, unless you need a fussy cut. I did fussy cut a bit on this because I didn't want it to look really weird. All right, now I'm gonna grab the firm GeekyFuse. I'm so sorry. I'll never say it without giggling because I'm a child. Oop. Open sesame. Okay, we'll go down this way and around. Whee! See that little piece right there? You'll just end up with a bunch of that. That, again, is why just cut it off. You're never going to use it. And don't Frankenstein things. That's another way to get wrinkles. I mean, now that I've got everything kind of cut out and ready to go, I'm going to set this one off to the side and get that heat press heated up so we can fuse it and see how it does. Right, so I've got everything set up. I went ahead and I pulled it over and did this off camera so you didn't spend about 2 minutes watching this thing heat up. So I've got my heat press going. If you're curious as to what this is actually the HTV auto heat press. I do have a review on it. So anyway, it's really cool because I don't have to worry about anything other than the fact that my house is slightly on a, yeah, anywho. All right, so I'm gonna place my Teflon sheet down and put the fabric right side down, and then the glue dot side, the shiny side of this is the soft GeekyFuse. I'm gonna place that shiny side down on the wrong side of the fabric. Don't mess that up because then it sticks and you'll never get that off of there. So I'm gonna go ahead and put that under, and I'm gonna hit the go and let it do its thing. And it's just a beautiful 20 seconds of pressing. And I'm actually going to do this at 330 Fahrenheit instead of the 340 Fahrenheit. And the only reason I'm doing that is because these are settings that work for me. And we'll see, I might need to go up or do additional, but I would rather, it's kind of like salt when you're cooking. I would rather start with a little than do a lot because you can't remove the salt if you add too much. Kind of like if I destroy the fabric. But no, it seems fine. Actually, the glue is sticking to the Teflon sheet really well. I don't normally get that when I use other fusible interfacing, especially the woven kind. They just don't leave behind a residue. So I'll warn you that if you're using a Teflon sheet like this, that's best, right? But have a couple of them so you can let this stuff dry and then scrape it off later. Because otherwise when you go back, you may accidentally press some of the leftover glue to your fabric. All right, so we're gonna let that sit right there and cool off. And I'm gonna grab another Teflon sheet. Well, I have one under there, but you know, we're gonna walk across the room. At least it's showing I'm still alive. I'm gonna put that down, and now I'm gonna get the vinyl. And for the vinyl, I actually do want to turn down the heat because I just don't want to press at 330, and I'm just going to use my presets. So I'm going to take actually 315 seconds. Again, I don't want a whole lot of salt. So let's go ahead and take that off of there because sometimes if too much air gets up underneath there, it'll like cut itself off. So I have to run this without the ceiling fan, which means like I start looking like an absolute hot flash mess, but it's best we'll wait for it to get down to the temperature that we need, and then I'll press that. Cool. Now we're at the correct temperature. Go ahead and put this in here. Again, double checking. Don't want to accidentally fuse the wrong things. And remember, this is the firm GeekyFuse cotton. So I'll let that press. Again, I'm only going to do 15 seconds. I get so nervous with this stuff, especially the vinyl, because it might melt it. The custom printed vinyls seem to do better than a marine vinyl for whatever reason. Maybe it's the type of plastic that they're using for the coating. All right, I'll bring that out. I'm gonna let it cool just a tiny bit because I actually appreciate having fingerprints. And I'm just gonna see how this is. I don't know if you can hear it through the microphone, but it has fused with just that 15 seconds, and it is fused very well. So I'm not able to kind of peel it off of the actual fabric, which is good, but yeah. And this one is not leaving as much residue. So this one didn't leave any glue residue at all on the Teflon, whereas the softer version did. So that's just something to bear in mind. And that's not an issue. Like I can't see that being a major problem. So I did this vinyl, I did at 300 Fahrenheit for 15 seconds, and it fused just fine. But again, that's with my heat press, and not every heat press is the exact same. So you might have to do your own tests. All right, I am gonna go ahead, I'm gonna power that off. I don't like to leave these things on. So let's evaluate. All right, I'm just gonna call it out now because I had a lunch break in between takes, and I realized after I hit go on this part that I actually put the soft GeekyFuse on onto the poly canvas, and I put the firm GeekyFuse onto the vinyl. But it's still a really good test, and the reason for that is because sometimes you just don't need something as stiff as like a Decaville Light on the polyester, and this bag is supposed to be a little more loosey-goosey. The shape doesn't necessarily come from the interfacing, it comes from the bias binding that I put around the edge when I'm done. So I'm actually good with this. And again, like this is a bag that's gonna have some depth, but it's bias bound with fold over elastic, so it's fine. It's very well fused all along the edges. That's the thing that usually gets me. If I do this with an iron instead of like a heat press, the edges will start to peel up. So that's super important, because when I'm using a canvas material like this, it will fray a lot along the edges. And when you put the interfacing on there, it really stops it from doing that. Now, I'm going to do a crinkle test with this. I will also do a crinkle test with this. It matters for both types of fabrics. I just kind of wish I didn't mess up post-lunch and swap the fusibles, but I'm gonna be a jerk and I'm just gonna wad this up. Like, let's pretend I just had to flip that completely inside out, and the only wrinkles that I have on there are legit from me wrinkling a fabric. It is a cotton fabric, it is going to do that. If this were a finished bag, then I could probably steam over this to relax the fibers a bit, and it wouldn't have any problems. The thing that you get with wrinkling when you're flipping a bag right side out with a poor interfacing job, or even just a cheaper interfacing, as those pockets of glue that don't get fused. And since I used a heat press, and this particular type of interfacing has a sheet of glue, not tiny dots. They're kind of just polka dotted around. It's adhered very evenly and very well, and I don't really have any worries about that at all. It's gonna be just fine. Again, you could even hand press the bag. It's kind of hard to demonstrate here when it's flat. It's like, oh yeah, of course it's gonna look fine if you like finger press it down or whatever, or run over it with an iron. What about the finished bag? If it has vinyl accents or zippers or something like that, again, just take an iron and steam it. Just steam over it and it will relax all those fibers and everything will be just fine. All right, now for the vinyl, which is now as stiff as a board, this definitely, like, now that I see it and I'm holding it with the interfaced piece, it's definitely a contender for Decaville Light. So if you are incapable of finding Decaville anywhere, you could absolutely use this. I'm going to crinkle this, maybe not as severely. Let's be honest, you can't really flip these bags right side out very well when you've got vinyl, so it doesn't get as squished as maybe something more pliable like a canvas, but it's fine. This is not peeling up anywhere. Again, I only did this at 300 Fahrenheit for 15 seconds. I didn't even need to do it a second time. It's really stuck on there. Dang, I don't even know how else to phrase that. You know, it's like, what else do I say? It's just in there. And again, the same thing, you can steam this and it will be just fine in the layout and the final. You're always going to have some wrinkles if you're flipping a bag right side out. You can be super careful. The thing, again, that you're trying to look out for is when it starts to peel up. And yeah, wow, I really like this stuff. It's pretty cool. Okay, so aside from mixing up the ones that I wanted to use with the intended fabric, which I find super hilarious, it's just fine. I like it. This stuff is pretty cool. I think that I'm probably going to add this to my regular rotation. I have, like, I don't know if you are like me and buy bolts and bolts at a time, yards and yards and yards at a time. I have probably 20 yards of Decaville Light sitting over there on a bookshelf that I haven't gotten to yet. Fully intend to. I will, I swear. It's just I'm like a dragon. I hoard some of my interfacings and I don't use them unless I absolutely have to, and I sleep on top of a mountain of them at night. Anyway, feel free to like the video, subscribe to the channel, send me love letters through my website, or get your own GeekyFuse and give it a shot. Again, there's the poly version and the cotton version. The ones used in this video are the cotton versions. They're slightly more expensive at the time of recording this video than the polyester version. So yeah, I kind of wish I had asked for a sample of the polyester. So maybe I'll grab those and I'll do a separate review on those later. Anyway, thank you very much again, and feel free to leave comments below on what you think.